Hey guys, it's me, Jennifer, and today I wanted to just take a little bit of time and discuss what it's like owning and working on a project car. And between Diamond, Olivia, and this Opel GT that's sitting behind me that I've been working on for all year so far, I've got a pretty decent picture of what this is like. So let's go ahead and explore what owning and working on a project car is actually like, money-wise, the amount of time involved, the learning curve, and what you actually get back for all of it. So let's get into it. So let's go ahead and start with the money side of things. So having a project car means that your money goes towards different things than it would for just a regular modern daily driver. When you buy a running daily driver, you're paying for that reliability and certainty. And if it's a used car, chances are that if it had any issues, somebody's already fixed them up. But for a project car, it's quite the opposite. You're not necessarily paying for the car itself, you're paying for a piece at a time as you discover issues. So with a project car, it's not necessarily like you have a fixed monthly payment. Some months you may spend only 10 bucks for like a gasket or a relay, while other months you might spend like 500 bucks because you have to rebuild an entire system of the car or multiple things need attention at once. So for example, if I were to rebuild the front suspension on the Opel GT and decided I needed to get shocks and ball joints and all of the bushings and everything else that's involved, that would cost me $500 for just the parts alone, and that doesn't even include shipping costs. However, scope creep can become a real thing with a project car, and it doesn't really pair well with a limited budget like mine. Scope creep is when you're thinking, well, while I'm here and this thing is already taken apart, I might as well go ahead and take care of this other thing over here. And that can make things quite expensive in the long run, which is probably why I may or may not do all of that suspension rehab on the Opel. We'll see. Now, does that mean that a project car is a money pit? Not necessarily. The math isn't between having a project car and having a payment for a new car. Instead, it's the cost to fix things yourself, buy the parts, get the tools that you need, and your time versus how much a shop would have charged you for the same work. And honestly, depending on the job and your skill set and how much you're willing to learn and take on for a project car, that math for doing the work yourself may not always work out in your favor, and it may be cheaper to just have a shop take care of it for you. And speaking of the time it takes to do work on a project car, some jobs can take just an afternoon, but others can take weeks or even months, and it might not just be because of how difficult the job is. There's the time spent researching how to do what you're going to do, making sure that you have the right tools for the job, and waiting for parts, and hopefully they're not on back order. Now take that time that you've spent for that one little thing and multiply that across the entire project car, and you can see why many builds have their own timeline and can sit on jack stands for a month or even years before they're completed. One example is when I was working on the Opel's radiator and swapping that out. That job could have taken one day, but it was actually split up into 2 days. There were screws that were so rusted on that they were difficult to budge, and they were in awkward, hard to reach places. And there were also hoses that were pretty stuck and hard to remove from the engine. There was also the last time when I was working on Diamond and I lost a little plastic alternator brush holder, and it fell into the black hole of the engine bay and I couldn't find it. They're not that easy to find, but once I found one, I had to wait a week for it to arrive. And those little kind of things can really add on to a project's timeline. Now, there's also the learning curve when it comes to working on a project car. And unless you've been doing this stuff for 50 years or you're a mechanic for all of your career, you're probably not going to know every little thing about your car, especially if you're just starting out. Or if you're like me and you're a Mopar girl working on a metric GM, a lot of those little quirks that I know from Olivia and Diamond don't always translate over to this thing. And that's probably one thing that people don't really talk about. Things may get messed up in the process, or you may put something back together backwards and not realize it until you think you're almost ready to go. So you shouldn't let those kind of things discourage you from working on a project car, because sometimes that's just how things are. You should just keep learning and keep going. So with the cost of a project car being unpredictable and timelines possibly stretching out and the learning curve involved, what is actually the reward from it all? For me, at least, it's the relationship that I'm building with that car. I'm learning all of the ins and outs of it. How does it sound? How do all the components fit together? How do all of the systems work? Things like that. Like, I've learned how Diamond and Olivia sound and can feel or hear when something may be going wrong. And that's the kind of knowledge that you just can't get if you haven't worked on your car or enjoyed it on the road. Now, granted, I haven't enjoyed the Opal on the road yet, but that'll happen someday soon. And I'm learning about the car every time I work on something under the hood. There's also the community building that comes with a project car. There's always somebody who has worked on whatever car you're working on, and they may be willing to give you their knowledge and advice when you run into a snag and have to ask a question on a forum or a Facebook group. But you learn from those people and build relationships with them as you work through your project car and gain some of their knowledge, and they follow your build as well. There's also the sense of pride that comes with working on a project car. You know you did the work, and that's your blood, sweat, and tears under the hood, not somebody else's. And you should be proud of that. So what are some things that you should look for with a project car when you're shopping around? Because a lot of the things, like even whether you'll enjoy working on it or not, are decided before it even ends up in your garage or driveway. The first thing you should do is take a look at how much rust is on the car. And keep in mind that not all rust is equal. Surface rust can just be sanded off or wire brushed off, or if you're going for the patina look, you can just throw on some sweet patina sauce or Poppy's patina for some protection to keep that look. However, structural rust is a whole different beast, and that is the stuff that has to be prepared. That's what you'll find on the frame rails or the floor pans, and it can significantly add to your timeline and budget. And if there's any rust through on the body panels, chances are you'll want to have those repaired as well, and that can hurt your bank account quite a bit also. So when you're taking a look at a potential project car, don't just look around the outside of the vehicle. Get down and look underneath at the chassis and check for any of those warning signs. And if the car has a vinyl top, like Diamond did, go ahead and press down on a few spots on the roof, especially around the windshield and rear window, and see if it feels a little bit squishy, because if so, chances are there's some rust brewing underneath there. Also, you should check the gaps between body panels. So say, for example, if the gap between the front fender and door are a little bit off, it's either A, the door hinge is not aligned properly and it's causing the door to sag, which isn't such a huge deal, or the car has been in an accident and was previously repaired, maybe not so well, and there may be some other issues going on. You should also do some research on parts availability for that car. Now, something like a Fox Body Mustang will have a lot of aftermarket parts available. But for something like the Opal or the Chrysler Conquest or a Mopar C-Body, there may not be a ton of places you can go to get parts. And depending on what you're looking for, parts can be really hard to find. And if you want to go the full OEM route with parts and not touch anything that's aftermarket, be sure to check to see what kind of resellers are out there, whether that's on eBay or Marketplace or something else. so you can support that. Otherwise, if the parts are almost unobtainium, you may be just stuck fabricating and trying to find ways around things. And finally, I recommend that you find the most complete car that you can afford, even if it costs more upfront. Depending on the car and your intentions with the project, buying a car that needs just a little bit of body work and maybe some refreshing of the powertrain or something like that is almost always a better project than one that looks cheaper but needs everything. Missing trim and interior pieces can be really hard to track down, more so than mechanical pieces, because typically those have been used in multiple vehicles and that helps the availability of those parts. It also affects the time and effort you'll be putting into the project. So here's a little bit of my honest advice if you're looking into getting a project car for the first time and what you should do while you're working on it. Buy something that you can afford to get wrong. Your first project car shouldn't necessarily be your dream car, because if you're like me, your dream car is a 1971 Plymouth Cuda and you don't want to mess things up on it. Instead, you should get something that is a little bit more of a forgiving platform for you to work on and learn on. Chances are you'll make mistakes along the way, and that's okay. But you don't want to find yourself in too much of a bind because you have to redo a lot of the work, or even worse, have somebody else redo the work for you. You should also expect the budget and timeline to stretch further than you initially plan. If you consider that from day one of the project, you'll never feel like the project is a failure. And like I said earlier, throughout the project, you'll find that you need new tools or even more parts or even replacement parts for things that you've lost somehow. And that can add to the budget and timeline. And finally, one important thing that you should do while you're working on your project car is document things. If you're about to take something apart, go ahead and grab your phone and take a few pictures before you start unbolting things, so that future you remembers how things fit together in the first place. I can't tell you how often I've completely forgotten to do this myself and have had to go dig through old forum posts or find a card that's similar just to see how things fit together when it comes to reassembly. And that's it. That's the reality of what it's like to have a project car. If you like this video, feel free to like, share, subscribe, all of that good stuff. And if you want to help fuel future content for the channel, feel free to go to thegearheadgirl.com and you can get access to exclusive posts and merchandise. So I'll see you guys later. Bye.